Please describe to me a time or an organization when that you led underwent an audit. Because you say you're going to hire smarter people than you to run this audit. I'm not asking you to be an accountant. I want you to be able to tell me what kind of guidance will be given to those employees, what will happen whether or not you pass that audit. Have you led an audit of any organization? Yes or no? I don't want a long answer. Yes or no? Have you led an audit of any organization of which you were in charge?
Senator, in both of the organizations I ran, we were always completely fiscally responsible.
Yes or no? Did you lead an audit?
And the way
yes
my
or no? Did you lead an audit?
Stated,
yes or no? What are you afraid of? You can't answer this question. Yes or no? Did you lead an audit? Do you not know this answer?
Senator, every part of my leadership of these organizations has been misrepresented.
I will take that as a no. What were the findings? So there were no findings because you've never led an audit. What guidance did you give the auditors? None, because you've never led an audit. Nobody expects you to be an accountant, Mr. Hegseth. What we expect is for you to...
Tammy Duckworth didn't attack Pete Hegseth personally. She tested him. And when the questions turned to audits, budgets, and global security, his answers revealed something far more dangerous than bad politics. Unprepared leadership at the very top of the Pentagon.
Senator Duckworth, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And also, Secretary Mattis had to have this waiver as well. Mr. Hegseth, this hearing is about whether you are qualified to be Secretary of Defense, and one of the qualifications, to answer my colleague's question, is to actually win the votes of every member of this committee and to be confirmed by the United States Senate. And you need to convince us that you're worthy of that vote, because the people of the state of Illinois voted for me to be their senator so that I could cast that vote when it comes to picking who is going to be the next Secretary of Defense. This hearing now seems to be a hearing about whether or not women are qualified to serve in combat, and not about whether or not you are qualified to be Secretary of Defense. And let me just say that the American people need a SecDef who's ready to lead on day one. You are not that person. Our adversaries watch closely during times of transition, and any sense that the Department of Defense that keeps us safe is being steered by someone who's wholly unprepared for the job puts America at risk, and I am not willing to do that. With that in mind, Mr. Hegseth, I want you to try to explain to the American people, this committee, who have to vote for you, and to our troops who are deployed around the world, why you are qualified to lead the Department of Defense. We already know that you've only led the largest, a 200-person organization. We already know that you so badly mangled a budget that after you left, they had to bring in a forensic accountant to figure out what went wrong, and that the largest budget you ever managed was about $18 billion. You know, that is about 51,560 times lower than the Department of Defense budget of $825 billion. $16 million is 51,568 times smaller than the defense budget. Please describe to me, Mr. Hegseth, you talk about DOD passing an audit. Please describe to me a time or an organization when that you led underwent an audit, because you say you're going to hire smarter people than you to run this audit. I'm not asking you to be an accountant. I want you to be able to tell me what kind of guidance will be given to those employees, what will happen whether or not you pass that audit. Have you led an audit of any organization? Yes or no? I don't want a long answer. Yes or no? Have you led an audit of any organization of which you were in charge?
Senator, in both of the organizations I ran, we were always completely fiscally responsible.
Yes or no? Did you lead an audit?
And the way
yes
my
or no? Did you lead an audit?
Stated,
yes or no?
What
are you afraid of? You can't answer this question. Yes or no? Did you lead an audit? Do you not know this answer?
Senator, every part of my leadership of these organizations has been misrepresented.
I will take that as a no. What were the findings? So there were no findings because you've never led an audit. What guidance did you give the auditors? None, because you've never led an audit. Nobody expects you to be an accountant, Mr. Hegseth. What we expect is for you to understand the complexity of this Pentagon budget process that is absolutely necessary to outfit our warfighters. Look, the Secretary of Defense is required to make quick decisions every single day. With high-level information that's being provided for them. A Secretary of Defense has to have breadth and depth of knowledge. Right now, I am concerned that you have neither. Mr. Hegseth, what is the highest level of international negotiations that you have engaged in, that you have led in? Because the Secretary of Defense does lead international security negotiations. There are three main ones that the Secretary of Defense leads and signs. Can you name at least one of them?
Could you repeat the question, Senator?
Sure. What is the highest level of international security agreement that you have led? And can you name some that the Secretary of Defense would lead? There's three main ones. Do you know?
I have not been involved in international security arrangements because I have not been in government other than serving in the military. So my job has been to
no. The answer is, can you name one of the three main ones that the Secretary of Defense
signs? Talking about defense arrangements, I mean, NATO might be one that you're referring to.
Status of Forces Agreement would be one of them.
Status of Forces Agreement. I've been a part of teaching about Status of Forces Agreements.
But you don't remember to mention it? You're not qualified, Mr. Hegseth. You're not qualified. You talk about repairing our defense industrial complex. You're not qualified to that. You could do acquisition and cross-servicing agreements, which essentially are security agreements. You can't even mention that. You've done none of those. You talked about the Indo-Pacific a little bit, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. Can you name the importance of at least one of the nations in the ASEAN, and what type of agreement we have with at least one of those nations? And how many nations are in ASEAN, by the way?
I couldn't tell you the exact
No, you
amount of
couldn't,
nations
because
in
you're
that,
not
but I
even
know we have
bothered to
allies
do-
in South Korea and Japan and in AUKUS with Australia, and trying to work
Okay.
on submarines with them.
Mr.
and data
Hegseth,
transfers
none
with
of those
them.
countries
We
are
have
in
allies
ASEAN.
across.
None of those 3 countries that you've mentioned are in ASEAN. I suggest you do a little homework before you prepare for these types of negotiations. Listen, Mr. Hegseth, we ask our troops to go into harm's way all the time. We ask them to go into harm's way. And this behind me is a copy of the Soldier's Creed, a copy that usually hangs over my desk here in the Senate, and you should be familiar with it. It's the same copy that hung over my desk at Walter Reed every single day that I woke up and fought my way back because I wanted to go back and serve next to my buddies who saved my life. This same copy, these words are repeated over and over and over again. And let me read out 2 things to you, 2 sentences. I will always place the mission first, and I am disciplined, physically and mentally tough, trained and proficient in my warrior task. Mr. Hegseth, our troops follow these words every single day, and they man up and they pack their rucksacks and they go to war. And they deserve a leader who can lead them, not a leader who wants to lower the standards for himself or raising the standards for other people. And by the way, our troops already meet the standards. We ask troops to man that ship, fight that fire, fly that helicopter until their very last breath. And they do that every single day. They cannot be led by someone who's not competent to do the job. How can we ask these warriors to train and perform the absolute highest standards when you are asking us to lower the standards to make you the Secretary of Defense simply because you are buddies with our president-elect? And by the way, he has filed for bankruptcy 6 times. I'm not quite sure he's the kind of CEO you want to refer to as a successful businessman. Let me make it clear. You can't seem to grasp that there is no U.S. military as we know it without the incredible women that we serve. Women who've earned their place in their units. You have not earned your place as Secretary of Defense. You say you care about keeping our armed forces strong and that you like that our armed forces are meritocracy, then let's not lower the standards for you. You, sir, are a no-go at this station.
Thank you, Senator Duckworth.
This exchange is a masterclass in how serious oversight actually works, because Tammy Duckworth isn't trying to score viral points here. She's doing the job senators are constitutionally required to do: determine whether someone is ready to be trusted with enormous power over lives, money, and national security. She begins by resetting the entire hearing. This is not about cultural debates. It's not about cable news soundbites. It's about whether Pete Hegseth is qualified to be Secretary of Defense, and whether the Senate should lower its standards simply because a president-elect wants a loyal pick confirmed quickly. That distinction matters because the Department of Defense is not a symbolic agency. It is the largest bureaucracy in the world, operating in real time against real threats. Duckworth reminds viewers of something most people don't think about. Moments of political transition are when adversaries probe for weakness. Confusion, inexperience, and delay at the top can invite miscalculation abroad. That's why she emphasizes day one readiness. There is no training period for this job. You don't get to learn on the job when the consequences involve troop deployments, alliance commitments, and nuclear deterrence. Then she moves into something much more concrete: management. Duckworth doesn't say Hegseth lacks experience in vague terms. She quantifies it. He has never led more than a 200-person organization. The largest budget he has ever overseen was around $118 million. The Pentagon's budget is more than 1,500 times larger. That number isn't trivia, it's instructional. Running a massive institution isn't about ideology, it's about systems, oversight, internal controls, knowing how money flows, how mistakes are caught, and how failures are corrected before they become disasters. That's why Duckworth zeroes in on audits. Audits are how the Pentagon tracks waste, fraud, and inefficiency. They're not optional paperwork. They are the backbone of accountability in an organization so large that no single person can see everything at once. So she asks a deliberately simple question. Have you ever led an audit? Yes or no? And this is where viewers should pay close attention, because the inability to answer that question cleanly tells you almost everything you need to know. Hegseth doesn't say yes, he doesn't say no. He talks around it, reframes it, and complains about misrepresentation. Duckworth doesn't interrupt him out of impatience. She interrupts because leadership clarity matters. If you've led an audit, you know it. You remember the findings. You remember the process. You remember the consequences. If you haven't, avoiding the word doesn't change the reality. This is an important lesson for viewers. Saying, "I'll hire smart people," is not a substitute for competence. Leaders don't need to be accountants, but they do need to understand enough to ask the right questions, recognize red flags, and act decisively when problems surface. Duckworth then widens the lens to international leadership, and this is where the gap becomes even obvious. The Secretary of Defense doesn't just manage money. They negotiate security agreements, coordinate alliances, and represent the United States in high-stakes global forums. These aren't academic exercises. These agreements determine where troops are stationed, how allies respond in a crisis, and how wars are prevented. So she asks Hegseth to name one major international security agreement he has led. He can't. She asks him to name the agreements the Secretary of Defense routinely oversees. He struggles again. This isn't about forgetting facts under pressure. People remember the things they've done. They forget what they've never experienced. When ASEAN comes up and Hegseth names countries that aren't even members, Duckworth corrects him not to humiliate him, but to illustrate the risk of surface-level understanding. Geography matters. Alliances matter. Precision matters. Mistakes at this level don't stay in hearing rooms. They ripple outward into real-world consequences. Then Duckworth does something powerful. She humanizes the stakes. She invokes the soldier's creed, not as rhetoric, but as a lived experience. She talks about Walter Reed, about recovery, about repeating those words daily because she wanted to return to service alongside the soldiers who saved her life. This moment reframes everything. Troops don't get waivers for incompetence. They don't get promotions for loyalty. They meet the standard or they don't serve. They are asked to perform at the highest possible level under the most extreme conditions imaginable.
So Duckworth asks the central moral question of the hearing. How can we demand absolute excellence from the people on the ground while lowering the bar for the person at the very top? That question cuts deeper than partisanship. It's about fairness, responsibility, and respect for those who carry the burden of national defense. Hegseth has argued forcefully against lowering standards for others, yet now asks the Senate to bend standards for him. Duckworth refuses to do that. Her conclusion isn't about punishment or politics. It's about trust. The U.S. military is not a favor to be granted. It is a responsibility to be earned. And in her judgment, based on his experience, his answers, and his performance under scrutiny, Pete Hegseth has not earned it. For viewers, the lesson is clear and unsettling. Leadership isn't proven by confidence or connections. It's proven by preparation. And when preparation is missing at the top, everyone below pays the price. If you believe the people making life and death decisions should meet the highest standards, like this video, subscribe for more in-depth political analysis, and share your thoughts in the comments. Accountability only works when people stay informed.